Bitter criticism. Today, there's no protest because of Hadwen either. People don't care about him. So sad. So anyway, Trump's found guilty, but America's problem won't go away. This is news from June 2nd from Anthony Moretti. It's an opinion. Who knows why this is the headline. Anthony Moretti, a special commentator on current affairs for CGTN, is an associate professor at the Department of Communication and Organizational Leadership at Robert Morris University. The article reflects the author's opinion and not necessarily those of CGTN. This is interesting because it's a news about Trump and it's from CGTN, and I don't really know what the Chinese people think about Trump. Editor's note, yeah. 34 charges, 34 guilty verdicts. If such a decision were handed down by a jury against a typical defendant, it might create some headlines. But when the defendant is the 45th President of the United States, torrents of headlines, analysis, and more are bound to follow. On May 30, a jury concluded that Donald Trump had manipulated business records to cover up that an adult entertainment actress had been paid huge money to obtain her silence on a sexual encounter between the two. Soon after the verdicts were read, Trump made a brief statement to assembled journalists. He suggested that the entire case against him was a disgrace and that the trial was rigged. In order to guarantee a conviction, he asserted that the White House had influenced the trial, although he did not say how, and he promised that this is long from over. Not since January 6, 2021, when the insurrection at the Capitol led to awful images of men and women storming the building in an attempt to prevent Joe Biden from being certified as the next president. Has America faced such an unsettling and dangerous day? The bitter reality is that no American can say with certainty that the most rabid of Trump's reporters will not turn to violate because of what happened in a New York courtroom on Thursday. Trump will be sentenced on July 11, 4 days before the Republican National Convention begins. At that gathering, he is supposed to be officially named the party's 2024 presidential nominee. Republican delegates could nominate him even if he is sentenced to prison. Trump is a polarizing figure and he came to power and influence at a time when the divide between America's left and right had become pronounced. His support among Republicans had been rock solid since 2016. Yet a survey by CNN and an independent research company indicated that almost 1 in 4 Republicans might reconsider voting for him this year if he were found guilty in any of the myriad legal cases he is fighting. So far, I have no idea what's going on with this Anthony guy. ABC News offered important analysis of that poll data, stating that might consider is not the same as will definitely change their vote. In light of this conviction, many Trump supporters might simply have a crisis of confidence about their vote without outright switching to President Joe Biden. View it another way. Any of the so-called minor candidates running for president this year might pick up support from Trump voters. Then again, Trump Republicans have such hate for the current president, then they might stick with Trump. It's funny, look. Nobody likes Joe Biden. US President Joe Biden speaks to local supporters and volunteers at the Wisconsin Coordinated Campaign headquarters in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, March 13, 2024. If all of this sounds confusing, well, so does so much of America's politics these days. The nation that prides itself of being the brightest beacon I don't know what's beacon. I don't know what's that. Beacon for democracy. I guess it doesn't matter because he's not. For democracy in the world remains hamstrung by a host of domestic problems. A report released by China State Council Information Office on May 29 highlighted the human rights challenges in the United States. Chronic problems such as racism and economic inequality were mentioned, as were issues relating to the rise of white supremacists and the pervasive gun culture. In short, America's human rights story is cluttered with real negative marks. Another problem is the absence of bipartisanship. Western democracies accomplish precious little when politicians on the left and the right refuse to find consensus. Over the past 2 decades, bipartisanship has become non-existent in more and more of America's 50 state houses and increasingly rare in Congress. Democratic and Republican voters have also retreated to their own camps. They too refuse to see the other side as anything more than a monolith determined to prevent the political changes they demand. A third problem is rhetoric that intentionally damages America's institutions. One obvious example of that came within hours of Thursday's guilty verdict. Several people who want to be Trump's vice presidential nominee slammed the legal system that found him guilty. One person suggested the verdicts affirmed how corrupt, rigged, and un-American the weaponized justice system has become under Joe Biden and Democrats. Another defined the trial as a complete travesty that makes a mockery of our system of justice. A third claimed finding Trump guilty was a disgrace to the rule of law and our Constitution. Notice the theme in all three comments: the suggestion that the judicial system is out of control and it conspired against Trump. Rhetoric like this guarantees that the respect for the law, which is needed in all societies, will be reduced in the United States. Ultimately, Trump's guilty will not change the polarization. He will still be viewed as a hero by many Republicans and corrupt and narcissistic by Democrats, with the presidential election polls continuing to suggest a close race between Biden and Trump. Both camps know that getting their voters to the poll is a must. Right now, both men are viewed unfavorably by the electorate. Sadly, no matter which of them wins in November, America's problems will not go away. So that was all. So it's a regular article. he's saying that America is under a huge problem, but the question is the whole world, even right here in Chile, for example, Brazil, all over the world, law, jurisdiction, jurisprudence is under attack. You know, the globalist people, liberals, they are all abusing the law. You know, so it's so sad. I mean, it's so injustice. It's so bad for everybody. CAF encouraging collaboration between China and the Arab world. Opinion, June 3rd, Wang Ji. I guess I'm not gonna read this because it's too institutional. I read a lot of this 2 days ago. Microsoft to invest 3.2 billion in Swedish cloud AI technology. June 3rd, yesterday. A Microsoft logo is displayed during the Viva Technology show in Paris, France, May 24, 2024. Microsoft will invest 33.7 billion Swedish crowns, which is $3.2 billion, to expand its cloud and artificial intelligence AI infrastructure in Sweden over a 2-year period, it said on Monday. The rising popularity of generative AI has fueled demand for cloud services, prompting companies including Microsoft and Amazon Web Services to invest billions of dollars to build data centers in Europe. Microsoft invested in data centers in the UK in November and Germany and Spain in February. You will see some other announcements, probably more in the fall. Microsoft President Brad Smith said in an interview, Microsoft plans to deploy 20,000 of the most advanced graphics processing units, which speed up computer calculations at a Swedish data center sites in Sandviken, Gävle and Staffanstorp. The company will use NVIDIA's faster processors and may turn to semiconductors from AMD and ultimately some of its own chips, Smith said. The race to develop generative AI programs had led to a surge in demand for advanced chips able to support these complex applications. Microsoft said it was committed to boosting AI adoption across the Nordic region, which in addition to Sweden includes Denmark, Finland, Iceland and Norway. The company plans to train 250,000 Swedes with AI skills within organizations, schools, universities, public sector and society at large over 3 years. It is also investing in renewable energy and has procured nearly 1,000 megawatts of renewable energy in Sweden. Goldman Sachs sees the AI boom as a near 1 trillion opportunity for the sector as tech companies invest in data centers to train their power-hungry large language models. AI is a tech transformation that should be seen as a multiplier or catalyst, is in part of the strategy going forward when, after successfully fighting inflation, we enter a new phase, an investment phase, said Ulf Kristersson, Prime Minister of Sweden. I don't understand much of this, but it's interesting. I should read more about this because I'm still studying the possibility of going to Sweden. I have to leave my dogs here. But anyway, news. This is from Al Jazeera now. India election 2024. Modi magic. Why Indian exit poll predicts record BJP win. Exit poll suggests the Prime Minister party could win even more seats that it did in 2019. So Modi is a powerful guy. Prime Minister Narendra Modi praised Kashi Vishwana temple after a room show in Varanasi, India by Yashara Sharma, published on June 2nd. Well, I don't care about India. It's too big, it's too complex. Have no idea about that. Have no interesting actually. Is a pretty large article. Mexico's election, a victory for organized crime. This is interesting because is a critic, yeah, bitter criticism opinion. Belén Fernandez, Al Jazeera columnist, published on June 3rd, 2024. You know what list they are saying? This is a columnist. Look. So Belén Fernandez, it is a columnist, so they will not say, oh, it's just this crazy woman opinion. No, this is the magazine opinion. Under Claudia Sheinbaum's presidency, organized crime will likely to be calling the shots. What? Criticism. Supported of Morena Party. Candidate Claudia Sheinbaum celebrated at Zócalo Square in Mexico City, June 3rd. On June 2nd, Mexico elected Claudia Sheinbaum as its first woman president. The 61-year-old scientist served as mayor of Mexico City from 2018 until 2023, and is the protégé of outgoing President Andrés Manuel López Obrador, AMLO, who to those Morena party she belongs and in whose shadow she will now govern. In the largest election in Mexico's history, Sheinbaum faced off against ex-Senator Xochitl Galvez, head of a conservative coalition. In addition to the presidential race, Mexicans also voted for candidates contesting more than 20,700 federal and local positions countrywide. In the run-up to the election, observers relentlessly cast the prospect of an impending female head of state in Mexico as a victory for women's empowerment. Although a glance at facts on the ground suggests the prematurity of any such celebration. Back in 2019, Sheinbaum, the first female mayor of Mexico City, promised to eradicate violence against women. During her tenure, however, the feminicide epidemic in the Mexican capital and the rest of the country continued to rage. Mexico currently sees at least 10 women and girls killed on a daily basis, with tens of thousands of women missing. The vast majority of feminicides go unprosecuted. Of course, the surge in feminicides occurs within a general context of violence. In the first 4.5 years of AMLO's term, Mexico registered 160,594 homicides, while the estimated number of missing people has now surpassed 111,000, a figure AMLO has preferred to drastically lowball. The outgoing president has also found it prudent to accuse people overly concerned with their search for missing or of suffering from delirium and necrophilia. The violence extends to the political realm too. More than 2,000 candidates were assassinated ahead of the June 2nd poll, and hundreds more dropped out of their races. In April, 2 major contenders were found dead on a single day. Some might go as far as to call it delirium of necrophilia. The pre-electoral spike in political killings is attributed primarily to cartels and other organized crime outfits conducting their own form of elections, if you will, by eliminating unfriendly candidates. After all, there is no time like the biggest election in Mexican history to show how we'll really be calling the shots in the coming years. In March, for example, the mayor of the diminutive coastal town of Zipolite in Mexico's southern Oaxaca state, my intermittent home, was fatally shot in broad daylight outside the local municipal building. The incident went almost entirely unreported in the Mexican press, but the rumors in town was that they had warned him. They, being the dominant drug trafficking group in the area, whose operations the mayor was apparently endeavoring to obstruct. I left Zipolite in April, but recently phoned a Mexican friend there to inquire about candidates for mayor's replacement. His response: "No one wants the job." So Oaxaca is super tough, isn't it? So sad. Yeah, what I want from Oaxaca is a beautiful black Mexican wife. Just that. I don't want to be the mayor of any Oaxaca city. Multiply the case of Zipolite across the entire expanse of Mexico, and you would get an idea, perhaps, of just how free Sunday's election really was. And while the United States prefers to categorically blame Mexico's violence on drug cartels and end the discussion there, the truth of the matter is that the U.S. Itself plays an outsized role in maintaining the violent landscape south of the border. For one thing, the simultaneous demand for a criminalization of drugs in the U.S. is what spawned the whole cartel business in the first place. Add to that the U.S. demand for undocumented labor and criminalization of migration, on which from AMLO has been only too eager to do the gringos' dirty work. A pattern Sheinbaum will no doubt continue. An unprecedented number of asylum seekers now traverse Mexico and reach the U.S. Drug trafficking outfits have expanded their services to include people smuggling as well. People on the move are abused and extorted at every turn by agents of the state and organized crime groups alike, often working in cahoots. I had the opportunity to experience such collaborative efforts firsthand when in March I drove from Oaxaca to the neighboring state of Chiapas to pick up two young Venezuelan friends of mine who had just crossed into Mexico from Guatemala. I had initially offered to pay acquaintances in Chiapas to retrieve them from the border, but had been politely informed, if we pick up migrants, the cartels will kill us. Our ensuing day-long odyssey entailed extortion by every possible branch of the Mexican immigration and security apparatus, including AMLO's beloved National Guard. Three members of which cornered us in a car park with their pickup truck after having been tripped off by migrant smugglers that I was interfering with business. Disgruntled to hear that all of my pesos had already been distributed to other Mexican officials, the National Guard officers suggested that I proceed to a nearby petrol station to conduct a hefty payment on my credit card, which the situation attendant will then pass along the officers in cash. Created in 2019, the National Guard has been accused of torture, extrajudicial killings, forced disappearances, and sexual violence against asylum seekers. Now Sheinbaum had optimistically expressed her hope that the National Guard will be closer to the public, act like a local police, really become the first responders. Speaking of criminal actors, Sheinbaum also hopes to boost cooperation with the U.S. in the realm of so-called free trade, despite the concept's rather sordid history in Mexico. Recall that the implementation of the U.S. imposed North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA, in 1994 destroyed millions of livelihoods in the country while fueling poverty and forcing countless Mexicans into narco-trafficking related jobs in order to survive. That is when lethal violence against women soared. Anyway, what is U.S. imposed capitalism is not very organized crime. As Mexico now prepares for a new administration, it is safe to assume that violence, official corruption, and impunity will remain the name of the game. A woman may have won the Mexican election, but the real winner is organized crime in every sense of the term. The views expressed in this article are the author's own and do not necessarily reflect Al Jazeera's editorial stance. Belén Fernandez, Al Jazeera columnist. She's beautiful, I guess. Belén Fernandez is the author of Inside Siglo XXI. Look it up in Mexico's largest immigration detention center, OR Books, and then says a lot of books he wrote. Well, I guess the Latin problems, they are paramount, they will never fade. This is just like people is. Economy. Well, this is all from yesterday. I guess I'm gonna read. Yeah, it's been great. Economy, technology. Malaysia's ship industry falls in crosshairs of US sanctions on Russia. Kuala Lumpur-based Jetronics has been accused of supplying parts needed to sustain Moscow's war in Ukraine. Semiconductors are an essential component of all electronic devices. By Sombor Peter, published on June 3rd, 2024. Bangkok, Thailand. The United States efforts to cripple Russia's war machine in Ukraine have ensnared. Look, I don't know this word neither. Ensnared. Sounds like sabotage or something like that. And Ukraine have ensnared and ultimately target far from Moscow. Malaysia's multi-billion dollar semiconductor industry. Malaysian semiconductor maker Jetronics SDN BHD is among nearly 300 entities that Washington slapped with US sanctions last month over their alleged links to Russia's military suppliers. Jetronics, based in Kuala Lumpur, is accused of shipping electronic parts and components to Russia that Moscow needs to sustain the conflict. Russian customs data shows that one of the Russian companies, Jetronics, has supplied since Moscow's full-scale invasion in February 2022 was already sanctioned by Western governments for its alleged ties to Russia's defense industry. The latest sanctions, announced on May 1st, freeze any US assets held by the targeted entities and bar anyone under US jurisdiction from dealing with them, effectively shutting them out of the US financial system. US officials have not said that they know for certain that components shipped by Jetronics have actually been used in military equipment. Jetronics supplied these components to companies based in Russia that are supplying Russia's military industrial complex. A spokesperson for the US State Department told Al Jazeera. Some of the materials Jetronics shipped to Russia included Tier 1 items of the US Department of Commerce's list of common high priority items established in the wake of the invasion to stem Russia's access to technologies needed for the war. The spokesperson said, I'm on my bus point now, so I'm gonna stop here. So it's been great. I'm not sure. Yeah, these last two articles from Al Jazeera, they are being great. The question is, sometimes Al Jazeera publish some articles. They are too westernized. Understand? They are too vulgar. They're too normal. Understand? Like CNBC media or something. Resuming, let's try to keep the recording on. Woohoo! Just keep recording. So, Al Jazeera is doing great, you know. You never know what you're gonna take from Al Jazeera, because as I was saying, sometimes you get an article just like CNBC, you know, which is shit, and then you have nice art. Well, who knows? Maybe Mexico, definitely. Well, this last article, it was great because you better never go to live in Mexico. That's it, you know. You better go away from Mexico because of the violence and drugs. You better never take so hard drugs, you know, so heavy drugs, you know. Anyway, Jetronics supply these components to companies based in Russia that are supplying Russia's military-industrial complex. A spokesperson for the U.S. State Department told Al Jazeera some of the materials Jetronics shipped to Russia included Tier 1 items of the U.S. Department of Commerce's list of common high priority items established in the wake of the invasion to stem Russia's access to technologies needed for the war. The spokesperson said the Commerce Department describes Tier 1 items as those of the highest concern due to their critical role in the production of advanced Russian precision-guided weapon systems. Russia's lack of domestic production and limited global manufacturers. Jetronics declined to comment. The U.S. Department of Treasury has sanctioned hundreds of individuals and firms over their alleged list of. Oh, this is another news. Russian customs data analyzed by the Center of Advanced Defense Studies, C4ADS, a Washington-based think tank, corroborates the U.S. government's claims. What? You know, this is the layout is broken. Anyway, it reveals dozens of shipments since the invasion of two companies in Russia, some with customers of their own in Russia's sprawling defense industry. According to the data, which was shared with Al Jazeera, Jetronics made more than 50 deliveries to companies in Russia, worth more than $3 million between April 2022 and September 2023. The materials included microchips, semiconductors, and silicon wafers, the raw material for making semiconductors. Microchips, which make up most of the items shipped by Jetronics, are particularly noteworthy due to their dual-use capabilities. For instance, US-designed microchips have been frequently found in Russian cruise missiles, fighter jets, and drones that have been intercepted or shot down. C4ADS analyst Alim Magar told Al Jazeera, Jetronics made deliveries to 8 different companies in Russia, according to the data. They include 000 Planner, which the US sanctioned in March 2022. At the time, the State Department said that Planner specializes in procuring foreign technology for Russia's military programs, including Russia's military space programs. It added that Planner's primary customer was is Heav's radio plan, which develops items and technologies for Russia's military. The plan's website says its projects have included navigation systems for UAVs, and lists Russia's Ministry of Internal Affairs, which oversees the country's police force, among its partners. The data also shows that Jetronics shipped to a Russian company named Design Center Crystal. Design Center Crystal's website says the company's partners include KAMAZ, Russia's largest truck manufacturer, which was also under sanctions at the time of the shipments by the US and other Western governments for supplying Russia's military. Well, I'm going to leave right here because it's too long to say the truth. It's huge. And well, another news from Al Jazeera from yesterday. News media, Sally Busby, first woman to let the Washington Post step down. Well, I read it all. And I think I'm going to do my yoga. No, I'm not doing any yoga actually, and I'm fine. Maybe reading articles like a crazy, reading a lot of articles. Maybe it's good for your body. Well, this was all from June 2nd, from yesterday. I mean, June 3rd actually. I have a whole new brand file of 119 pages from filled with a lot of articles from Russia Today, CGTN. Look, I'm just gonna read all the headlines. I'm gonna try to do it in 2 minutes. January 4, 2024, Homeworld News. Ukraine might not join NATO, Biden. That's funny. Joe Biden's health is about to be put to a severe test. All this is from Russia Today. This was from Murad Sadiqzadeh. June 4, 2024, Homeworld News. Biden not ruling out boots on the ground in Taiwan. What? NATO preparing troop plans for potential Russia conflict, Telegraph. Men and weaponry may have to deployed across Western Europe, a senior general has claimed. June 4th. June 4th also, Homeworld News. NATO member declares intent to join BRICS. Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan has stated that Ankara intends to discuss the issue during an upcoming meeting in Russia. So maybe there will be World War III after all. Russia has exceeded NATO's expectations, Stoltenberg, June 4, Homeworld News. Moscow was able to rapidly build up its defense industry during the conflict with Ukraine, the bloc's chief has acknowledged. Maybe that's it. Yeah, that's it, And this was just the 24 pages. So just reading the headlines. So I there's no hope for me. I am a journalist junkie. Journalist junkie. Tommy. What about you? Look, Tommy hurt himself with the rocks. You know, he he hit his head on the rocks, just being happy, just being a happy dog. And there's Mursi. Mursi, venga aquí, bebé. Venga aquí. My beloved doggy. You will see, Mursi, there will be no war for you. I mean, who knows, you know? I don't like this country, you know? This country is full of cowards, Chile. And, well, I like China, you know? China I like because they are communists, they are organized, they are hardworking people, they are competitive, they are good people, I guess. They are Taoists. I don't like Confucianism. I was listening Confucianism audiobook. To me, it looked like Christianity. What about that? You don't need Christianity if you have Confucianism, a moralistic bamba jumba. I prefer to be nihilistic. Yeah. So they say, China says, they stop saying, I guess, because you know, all of us are going to die. Some people will die in war, but we all gonna die. I have 37 years old. I'm still alive. I'm survived. 30 years old, 37 years old in South America. Facing hardship, facing troubles, but there are some people that, anyway, there's always meaningless, you know. Surviving is meaningless. Live longer is meaningless.